Colonel Santos Benavides, on the left, became the highest ranking Mexican American officer in the Confederacy. His most notable victory was the defense of his hometown of Laredo, Texas. Lieutenant Colonel Manuel Chavez, on the right, played a crucial role in the Union victory at Glorieta, attacking and destroying the Confederate supply train. The Mexican-American War was fought from 1846 to 1848. The war changed Mexico and America too. Before the war, California, Texas, and New Mexico were parts of Mexico. When the United States won the war, it took over these lands. The American Civil War began in 1861. This was just 13 years after the Mexican-American War had ended. At the time, tens of thousands of Mexican Americans lived in U.S. lands. They were caught in the middle of the United States war with itself. Mexican Americans in Texas were known as Tejanos. They soon had to ask themselves which side of the Civil War would they be on. Some Tejanos did not join either side. At first, many tried to avoid picking sides, according to Sonia Hernandez. She is a professor at Texas A&M University. She studies Mexican American history. Hernandez writes that some Tejanos did not join either side. On both sides, many Americans saw the Tejanos as disloyal, she explains. For that reason, neither side would have seemed like a good option. Mexican Americans could claim that they were citizens of Mexico to avoid having to join either army. Many did just that. Yet some did take sides. They might have been worried about the war to come. Which army some joined depended on where they lived. Jerry D. Thompson is a professor. He teaches history at Texas A&M International University. Thompson estimates that a few thousand Mexican Americans joined the Confederate troops. More than 10,000 joined the Union Army. Most Mexican Americans who joined the Union lived in New Mexico or California. Most who joined the Confederacy lived in Texas. Texas was one of the states that voted to leave the Union. It joined the Confederacy. At least 2,500 Tejanos signed up for the Confederate Army. Slavery was a major issue of the Civil War. The Confederacy wanted to protect its slave-based economy. The Union did not. Mexico had outlawed slavery in 1829. This was a few years after the country won its independence from Spain. Some Mexican Americans might have joined the Union because they were against slavery. Thompson says thousands of runaway slaves escaped to Mexico. Many Tejanos helped these runaways. Not all Mexican Americans opposed slavery, though. Some rich Mexican Americans owned slaves themselves. They made money on the slave trade. Colonel Santos Benavides was one example. Says Thompson, he was a Tejano. He was paid to catch runaway slaves. Benavides eventually joined the Confederate Army. He became the highest-ranking Mexican American in that army. Most Mexican Americans in New Mexico joined Union Army. Most Mexican Americans in New Mexico who entered the war fought for the Union. These soldiers were promised up to $300 each. Money might not have been the only reason why they joined the Union, though. In the early 1840s, the leaders of the Republic of Texas invaded New Mexico. They wanted to take the land. The people of New Mexico resented this. That might be why so many of them joined the Union, Hernandez suggested. Texas was another story. Mexican Americans there were not so unified. The Civil War deeply divided the Mexican Americans of Texas. Thompson writes, many Tejanos in the Confederate Army joined out of fear. They did not want to be sent away from home. They wanted to stay with their families. Yet Other Tejanos would join the Union. They were angry with white Texans for taking their land. They might have joined the Union to get back at them, Hernandez suggests. Mexican Americans in the Confederate Army fought far away. Some went to Virginia and Pennsylvania. However, Mexican American soldiers in the Union fought closer to home. They helped win key battles in the Southwest. Many Mexican Americans treated unfairly by white soldiers. On both sides of the war, many Mexican Americans ended up leaving their post. This was mostly because they were treated unfairly. White soldiers on both sides were cruel to them. That's according to the National Park Service. In March 1862, Lieutenant Colonel Manuel Chavez led Union troops. They attacked a train carrying Confederate supplies. This was known as the Battle of Glorieta Pass. The Union victory helped push the Confederacy out of New Mexico. Today, the battlefield is a historical site. It remembers Mexican Americans who have helped the U.S. military.